Hey guys, I'm Ray, and we are streaming blacksmithing, fingers crossed. Hey Corwin, hello. Beanie Fuzzne, hello, welcome to the stream. Hello. So, like I said, I hope we're streaming blacksmithing today. The last two streams, it has been less than an hour because I've had really unstable internet. And so I had the ISP come out yesterday and they took a look at all of my equipment and they replaced the line from the pole outside to my house. Apparently, the previous line had rubbed up against, like snail. It was my Animal Crossing Wild World's name on the island. I couldn't fit snail on the island, so I just kind of stuck it there. Okay. All right. I mean, I used my my screen name for World of Warcraft, or like I guess my username for World of Warcraft for a really long time on Twitch. So I don't blame you. But yeah, anyway, so the wind when it was blowing, it had eaten the cables, like the coating off the cable, and so it was causing a lot of interference because the bare line was rubbing up against my gutter. So we have that fixed, and fingers crossed we're really stable after this. So, like I said, I got the ISP in yesterday, and that's what they fixed. So hopefully we'll be good and stable, and I won't have to worry about this for a really long time. Alrighty, so let's see. I spent the last two, I guess Friday and Monday filing the blades of our scissors. And they're almost there. They're not quite perfectly filed. There's a few little spots here and there. And this one in particular is being dumb because there's a little bit of a twist in the handle. And it also, I'm just not really happy with this handle. So I think the first thing that we're going to do today is we're going to cut off the very end of this tail. And I think what I want to do is I want to turn this into the thumb side of the pair of scissors. So we've got our nice finger guards on the one side, and I think I'm going to turn this into a thumb loop. So we're going to shorten it, taper it out a little bit, put a little scroll on there, and it should be good to go. After I'm done with that, because that shouldn't take too terribly long, we are going to kind of start fit and finish on these guys to see if we can't, secure them together and make them usable. So that is my goal for today. And if it doesn't, or if we aren't able to finish today, it will go a little bit into Friday's stream. So that's why I have day 1 question mark in the title. I don't know much about blacksmithing, but this seems cool. Yeah, it's a pair of scissors. So we've got the blades made, and we're working on the handles so that we can kind of, use them. It's incredibly important with a pair of scissors to kind of make sure that they're fit perfectly, because if the blades are too far apart, instead of cutting paper, it will fold paper. So that's what we're trying to do today, is kind of fit and finish these scissors. We've got an ad starting in about a minute and a half. And like I said, we are going to be cutting off probably about here. And I'm going to make this a thumb loop instead of another finger grip. They kind of look a little bit like, gardening shears right now. And they're not quite the way I want them to be. So we're just going to modify them a little bit. This loop is making it really hard to finish that last little bit of filing for the blades to make them nice and tight. While I watch, I might draw or craft. I don't know. Maybe I might just fall asleep with this on because I'm sick. Ooh, that's not cool, being sick. Well, I hope you get better soon. All right. So I'm going to secure this guy in our vise. It's nice and secure there. And then I'm going to grab the camera and stick it over there, so you guys can see a nice close-up of what we're up to. And by the time I get this all set up and stuff ready to go, it'll probably be time for the ad. So once the ad starts, or I mean ends, I will start working. Let's see. I think that's okay. That's nice and set. Let's see. Has the ad started yet? Not yet, but soon. Yeah, getting back to school time, or tomorrow though. Thankfully, I'm mostly better. I like your streams because they're family friendly, I think. I try to make my stream as family friendly as I possibly can. You know, because I enjoy talking to younger people and, you know, families and, you know. So, yeah. All right, there's that ad. Let me find all of my safety equipment. And so there's that, and there's that. We should be good to go shortly. Yeah, I don't see many family-friendly ones, so seeing one that's actually like normal is awesome. I try. All right. I'm doing some grinding, so I want to put on a face mask so that I don't inhale any of the dust as it sprays upward. And then, you know, hearing protection. I've only got one set of ears. I also don't get ads for some reason. I'm pretty sure you have to pay to not get ads, but I just don't get them. I don't know why. Sometimes Twitch doesn't give you all of the ads. Sometimes it does. It's kind of finicky like that. But yeah. All right. So we're back. And so I'm going to cut off this handle, and then we're going to start up the forge. All right. Let's do this. All right, so we've cut off a little bit of that end. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this in the forge, unwind it a little bit, taper this down so it comes to a point so we can curl it up and turn that into a finger loop. All righty. Let's see. All right, so I think, I'm debating. Do I want to use the mailbox or do I want to use, because I think, will it fit in here right? I think it will actually. But just to be safe, we're going to use the big forge. So let's turn that on. All righty. All righty. The other amazing, cool thing that happened is, so some of the people who have been around for a while know that my last propane tank was, the valve got stuck open. And so what happened was I took it back to the hardware store and they exchanged it. So I have a brand new propane tank down there. I haven't even opened it yet. So once this propane tank is empty, we'll just change the propane. We'll have a nice full one and that'll be it. Do you ever soap check your forge regularly for leaks? I was told you have to check pretty often. I actually change the propane very frequently. And so I am always like sniff testing everything and making sure that everything is nice and tight and not leaking. So I have 2 forges that I frequently use, and I only really have 1 tank that I use at any given time. So when I change the tanks and I change the forges, that's when I do my checks. All right, let's move this camera because we're going to be looking at the horn of the anvil at first, I think. But yeah, it is very important to make sure that you are thoroughly making sure that your tanks and your equipment is in good working condition. Alrighty, so this is going to go over here for the moment. That can actually go over there. How do you get your voice to sound so close? Is it a mic or is the mic on the camera? I actually have a lav mic that I have attached to my sweatshirt. And then I also have a sound dampening program that runs through my microphone. So there is a transmitter in my pocket, and then I have a receiver that is attached to the laptop. So that's how you guys can hear me. You guys can hear me better than I can hear myself. So if you hear me like yelling, that's probably why. Hey Lexi, welcome, welcome. How's things in early morning Australia? When I was doing my gas pieces, I had to redo it like 4 times because it was leaking no matter how much or no matter how tight it was. Couldn't believe it. Eventually double wrapped it with the sealing stuff and then it was sealed. Yeah, each of my pieces that are attached to my burners are wrapped in Teflon tape. And that does a really great job of sealing all of those cracks and making sure that I have no leaks. Does one really need headphones for blacksmith? I understand grinding. Actually, yes. To be quite honest. So like I said, I actually have sound dampening in my my microphone. If I were to turn that off, you could kind of hear like the noise that it kind of makes. Also, the anvil itself rings quite a bit, and I actually have some hearing loss previous to my experience with blacksmithing, so I'm extra careful with my hearing these days. I also have like my press over here. When I'm using that, I definitely need the headphones because it is so loud. The decibel amount is more than a concert. So headphones are, I guess they're not really required, but they probably should be. And then I also have the ping of the anvil that you'll hear here shortly. It can also get really loud, especially if you don't have any sound dampening on the anvil. Right now, I have magnets that kind of reduce the resonance of the anvil itself. It kind of dampens the sound a little bit, but still, headphones are really nice. And it makes it a lot easier for me to hear myself when I'm speaking to you guys. What is my favorite plant? Yeah, it does still ring. You can hear it. I mean, it's like a deadened ring, but it does still ring a bit. My My favorite plant is probably aloe vera. I'm sure you can imagine why. It's got very nice properties. Grumble, grumble, it's too early. It is too early for you. I don't know why you're up. I appreciate your support, but I don't know why you're up. All right. All right, so what we're going to be doing here is kind of, let's see. I've done this really awkwardly right now, so I think I'm going to straighten that out just a hair more, just so that I can kind of all right, we're tapering this out, putting a point on that end. So I'm going to heat this back up. It's pretty cold right now. Aloe vera is pretty cool. Personally, I like a rosary pea, especially the seeds. I'm not really familiar with a lot of different plants, not really a botanist. So, I mean, you can tell me all about the plants if you'd like, but I don't know a lot about them. I woke to adjust the air conditioner and decided to swap over to Twitch from a YouTube sleep music. I'm likely going to fall back asleep. I don't blame you. Oh, I tested my forge and, well, had to take it apart. I'm now planning to do a gas bottle forge. So the forge I made was too big, and the dark spout was way too big and too much gap between burners. So I also found out about hot spots. And the chimney effect. So I was not happy, to say the least, coming up to the pipes so that the forge goes out the window. Hey, Blue Red, welcome to the stream. So I actually did a pretty good job of filing. Yeah, forges can be a little bit obnoxious if you don't really know what you're doing. So we're almost there, but we found on the other blade I had some interference with the scroll, so I cut off a little bit of the tail. We're gonna re-taper it, kind of turn that into a thumb side. So like my example scissors have, like, you know, the finger hole and the thumb hole. So we've got a finger hole here. We're gonna do a thumb hole on the other side. Kind of, you know, give a, I don't know, an asymmetrical view of the scissors. Yeah, I think they're looking pretty good so far. Like I said, I need to do a little bit more filing because there's a couple spots here and there that just aren't quite there yet. And then I also need to take a little bit of extra off of the angle here. This is a 45. I think I need to make it more like a 60-degree angle so that they close a little bit easier. So we'll get there as we go. But first, I kind of want to reshape that finger hole into a thumb hole. So we're doing a little bit of tapering. Heat. We'll do one more heat on this guy, and then we're going to start reshaping that thumb hole. Doing the scrolls. I've got like 50 pairs because I lose them and I think I have none and I buy more. And I find the old ones and the cycle repeats. Forgot to write pairs of scissors. I figured that was probably the case. I also have so many pairs of scissors. But the reason I have so many pairs of scissors is because I do sewing sometimes. And a pair of scissors will only cut cloth until you cut paper with that scissors, right? Because the paper instantaneously will dull out the scissors to the point where you can no longer cut cloth accurately with them anymore. So every time I buy a new pair of sewing scissors, I label them sewing scissors, and then I just inevitably will pick them up and start cutting a pattern with them. So I'm constantly buying new sets of scissors. These ones are specifically designed for cutting open packages, like food packages and things like that, like vacuum sealed food and that sort of thing. So they will never cut, they'll never cut cloth, so I think they'll be all right. Is it made of metal? These are definitely made of metal. This is actually spring steel. So I started with a spring from a truck, very similar to this guy. In fact, these scissors came off of this guy. So we cut off one whole like round coil, and then I cut that coil in half, and that's how I made the two blades. So yeah, it is a truck spring. They're made out of spring steel. So that is a tool steel, which means I cannot quench them in a bucket of water. I have to quench them in oil, which I have some canola oil over there. So when I get to that point where it is time to harden and temper them, I have the oil to do so. Yeah, it's pretty good to only use fabric scissors. Got fabric. I learned when I mistook my mom's fabric scissors for normal scissors and cut paper. Right? When I was a kid, I used to get in so much trouble for stealing my mom's scissors. Someone asked me why I asked another person who liked to sew a lot if I could use some scissors to cut paper. I asked for the very reason you just described. Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, and some people are like super, super paranoid about it and they'll get real mad at you. I'm not too bad because I usually just buy really cheapo scissors for sewing, knowing that eventually I'm going to cut paper with them by accident. So I try to be pretty chill about it, but not everyone is. All right. So from here, what we're doing is we're going to take the corners off of the square profile that I've been managing. So now we've got a nice round. Just like the rest. So I think the next thing that we're going to do is probably scroll this tail. And then we will start rounding that out again. So far, so good on the stability. Knock on wood. We seem to be all right so far. Super glad to see that though, because it was super frustrating for the past 2 streams just having random dropouts. Completely zoned out on what you're saying, but because my mind was just like boing, 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 and mimicking the sound of my head. Yeah, it can be really mesmerizing, just the sound of blacksmithing. So it's actually pretty nice outside today. I'm pretty excited about that. The last 2 days, it was like super, super cold. And we had those big storms because we just had like 2 days of super cold for no reason. And yeah, so now we're back to like the 50s Fahrenheit, so that's pretty awesome. Super excited about that. Also means that, I don't know, it might get warm enough in here that I can take my sweatshirt off. That would make me really happy. All right, we're gonna start doing a little bit of a scroll on these scissors. To kind of match the scroll. All right, we're gonna take a look at these guys. All right, so this way. So the scroll needs to go this way, yeah. And I spent way too much time talking about that, but that's all right. We'll just heat it up again. But now we have a proper direction. So I'm pretty excited about these guys. I really want to make them function. That's the main thing, is I want them to function. They're pretty right now, you know, visually attractive or aesthetic, but I really want to make them function, and that's the hard part with scissors. A friend of mine in Winnipeg, Manitoba said they got 5 centimeters of snow yesterday, which is around 2 inches. They're getting very tired of winter. I am too. We barely got any snow this year, but we did actually have about a week where it just sat on the ground. And so, you know, I'm super glad that it's starting to get warm again. So, one of the ways that scissors kind of function is there's a little bit of a tiny curve, like a very shallow curve, so that they fit together really tightly. And since these are spring steel, once I get them hardened and tempered, they should have a little bit of a give to them. So when we have those tiny curves, they will kind of really sit tightly together. So we're going to put that in there today too, I hope. Alrighty. Let me grab a set of scrolling tongs just so that I have them in case I need them. And we're going to finish this little bit of a scroll. See if I can't do this way. Heat that up and get one more wrap. It's taking me a little bit of extra time. It probably shouldn't, but it's gonna. It takes as long. And you're reconnecting. Okay, so I guess my knocking on wood did not help me today. We are having a tiny bit of instability. Fingers crossed that's it. We are having a little bit of wind, but not too bad. Like I said, I had them come over to fix this, so I'm hoping that what they did fixed it. Otherwise, you know, I guess I'll have them come out again. So if we blink out too many more times, I will definitely be calling them and accelerating my issue. Super not happy. Super not happy. All right, let's do another heat. Fingers crossed we have, you know, a good amount of, there we go, that's what I want to see. Oops. Man, we're not doing so hot on that, but that's all right. I'll work on it a little bit further. But first, I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna wrap that around. And then we'll keep on working on that scroll, I think. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I've got a few different factors on things that could be happening to my internet. So we've eliminated that one. Hopefully that's the only thing that we need to fix. But, you know, I guess if I have to, I'll call them again. We've got an ad starting in about 3 minutes, a little bit longer, and I should be able to pull this out of the forge and kind of start curling it around for a thumb hole. All right, let's try this. What direction? That direction. I did it right. Whew. A little bit more heat in this area right there, and we'll turn that into that thumb hole. Good thing I use the big forge. It's taken me some extra heats, I feel like. It's what I get for pulling the steel out of the forge before it's as hot as I need it to be to move it. It's a little bit harder to move because it's spring steel as opposed to mild steel, which is what I usually use a lot of times. So overall, I think aside from that one, or we've had a little bit of frame dropping and we had that one drop. All right. All right, all right. Let's try this again. I think I'm up again. I think I'm up again. Back up for now. Okay. So for now, we're back up again. Fingers crossed we stay up. And that was our only interruption. But I cannot guarantee that. So if we go down again, I guess I'm just going to keep on working a little bit longer today. Because I really need to finish this project, guys. Alrighty. Let's do another heat for the moment. Fingers crossed we can get this to work. All right, so we're going to do a little bit more scrolling on that side and then round out this section for our next heat. Hopefully I actually got that recorded. I did. Yay! All right, so now we are going to change the angle just a hair. We'll probably go a little bit lower. There we go. I promise I'm here, guys. I'm just changing the angle of the camera a little bit. I apologize for the inconsistency and the frame drops and all that. I do the best I can. Unfortunately, I think my ISP is against me today. Probably use those to help me scroll a little bit further. Hey, Ping, welcome to the stream. We have had quite the adventure already. I had my ISP come and they replaced all my lines from the pole to the house. But we're still having a few dropouts and some issues, so I think I'm going to call the ISP again. We'll see what's happening. Hopefully, you know, we get some stability back eventually. So I've got an ad break incoming in about 2 minutes. What do we got? So I think I'm going to pull this out and we're going to do one more heat before that ad starts. With the new angle, hopefully. Hopefully we get a good angle on that.